people have also been asking me if I would go back into the Beatles tribute industry and stuff, and that's all fine and dandy and everything, but even though, I'm not under representation anymore, I'm still pushing forward as an actor on my own, and I've got a bunch of great references, and as I said, people have been asking me about the Beatles thing, and, I will make one simple exception. If it's local here in Florida, if they have drums for me to use, because I sold off all my gear, all my costumes. So if it's a simple little show that people need filled in for, I will do it. Yours truly. But for the most part, I will be concentrating more on acting. Today's incredible impression adventure begins looking at Lake Sumter. In Lake Sumter Landing, you can see the lighthouse off in the distance over there. There are plenty of seagulls around the lake here, and it looks as if these people over here are marveling at the seagulls. And it looks also as if the water is still very high from the recent storms we had. You got to remember, Hurricane Milton came through, and this entire boardwalk was completely flooded, literally completely flooded. And as usual, we can't forget, please do not feed the gators. Feeding alligators is strictly prohibited under Florida law, Florida statutes 372.667. So don't feed the gators or any of the wildlife, guys. Unless, of course, if it's turtles. I fed some of the turtles here before. But anyway, today we are going to talk a little bit about the past, the present, and the future. Okay, that actually scared me. It is officially noontime here in Florida. And with that, we're gonna quick pan. Welcome everyone, Zach the Incredible Impression here. Happy New Year to you all. It's been a couple of weeks since I did a vlog, and I want to thank you all who watched my video on the Fab Four in Orlando. Tony and I had a great time. Those guys are wonderful. They're great friends of mine as well. And the Beatles will be a topic of today's vlog. Pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to recap 2024. Then we're going to move on to what is going on in the present. And then we're going to talk about my goals for the future. So pretty much, let's recap 2024 first of all. But before that, look at this. Look at this. There's Johnny Rockets. They got great burgers and great food, but unfortunately lately they have been charging for fries and stuff. They no longer come with your meal, which is kind of sad, but it's still a good place to eat if it weren't for being quite expensive now. Palm trees behind me, really neat. It is Florida, however, and it has been cold recently. I will admit, though, the last couple of days have been pretty warm, but now it is turning cold. This morning it was 39 degrees, and right now it is about 61, but it is blue skies. So hopefully it'll stay that way for the rest of the day. Next week, later this week, it's going to be in between the 30s, 40s and 50s. As a matter of fact, later this coming week, I think it's going to be maybe Monday or Tuesday, it's supposed to only get up to about 54 maybe. So it's going to be pretty cold this coming week. This here used to be a Sonny's Barbecue, but they have since closed their doors. I don't know why, but Sonny's Barbecue is an awesome place to eat. They got great food in there. I think I can even still smell the smell of smoked barbecue meats. Okay guys, let's recap 2024. As you remember, we pretty much kicked off the year with me playing Ed Sullivan at Eddie Deazen's screening in Atlanta, Georgia. And that, we had a great time. As you remember from the vlog, we ended up meeting 3 of the actors from the show Stranger Things. And so we did the screening for Eddie Deazen. Then I had a few hiccups in the road as far as acting goes. I, of course, did the interviews with Steve Steuer, Groucho Marx's personal secretary. I did the interview with Brian Elliott Smith. I also did the interview with actor Larry Hankin, which was a great experience for me. Very, very cool. And then we went to Los Angeles after, well, let's back up a little bit. My publicist and I, we decided mutually to part ways, and because he had some things going for him again, I had some things I wanted to do, and so eventually the acting side of me sort of started to die down a bit, and that's what went on behind the scenes with me, which I have not shared with you guys yet. But acting kind of went downhill for me. I started focusing more on the channel, and of course I took you guys on a 7-day journey to Los Angeles where I'd never been before, and I will say I thought it was an absolutely incredible trip, and I want to thank you guys for joining me on that. And of course we went on the Hollywood van tour together, and we went to the Frida Cinema where I hosted the screening of Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead with my good buddy actor Keith Coogan. And as you already saw again, he and I ran into each other when I got back from LA, and you saw the vlog with Tony and I down in Tampa at the Toy Con. And at that time, you may remember, I didn't have teeth on this side, but I have them now, and I'm very happy that I do. No more gumming, you know. So we did the Los Angeles trip. We came back, I vlogged the Toy Con, and then I also let's back up again to LA. What you guys didn't get to see was that I met Larry Hankin at a local coffee shop in Venice, California. And that place is well known for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, that's right. Come on. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Venice, California. I met up with Larry Hankin there. We had a great 2 hours worth of a conversation. Got to know each other really well. And of course you saw Brad Server, Andy P, and Cricky D of Curly G's channel, Curly's grandson, and had a great time with them. You may remember Andy gave us a tour of the area where Mo, Shemp, and Curly Joe lived. And overall, we just had a great time. And then, of course, back in December, Tony and I went to see the Fab Four in concert down at the Plaza Live. And that was an awesome experience. Tony always loves being in the vlogs. He's not camera shy. Whoa. And this is a dead end right here. I did not know that. Man, I'm really venturing into territory I've never been at before. But either way, we had a great 2024 for the most part. And I will say that I am ready to kick off 2025 with some New Year's resolutions. Let me go find a place to sit down and we can talk. So, what is going to happen in 2025? What are my New Year's resolutions? Well, as you saw in the very beginning of the vlog, I recapped the one vlog that I did by the poolside when I broke the news to you that my publicist and I had decided to part ways. And as you saw, I mentioned in that I will not go back into the Beatles tribute industry. Well, that, my friends, is about to change. To back up a little bit, let me tell you some history about my love for the Beatles, where the influence came from, what made me want to eventually go into the tribute industry, etc., etc. So a little background. I started, of course, when I was a really small, teeny tiny, itsy bitsy little kid running around in diapers still. I started watching Shining Time Station on public television, Thomas the Tank Engine, and I was really drawn to the character of Mr. Conductor, played by the awesome, wonderful Ringo Starr of the Beatles. Then, later on, portrayed by the late comic George Carlin, which I thought, as when I grew up and I got to know what, I became familiar with George Carlin, I was kind of amazed that with all the dirty comedy he did, that he switched to a children's television show. I mean, that was very uncharacteristic for him. But my favorite was when Ringo was playing Mr. Conductor. And my Uncle Greg was a musician, a lifelong musician. God rest his soul. He sadly passed away suddenly in 2018. His name was Greg, Uncle Greg, Greg Kendig. I'll pop some pictures of him up on the screen. And he got me into the Beatles because when I was watching Shining Time Station, I told my mom that Mr. Conductor was my favorite character. And she said, Ringo Starr portrays Mr. Conductor. And I said, who is Ringo Starr? She said, he was the drummer for your uncle's favorite band. And I said, what band was that? She said, the Beatles. And I said, how could he be part of a band when he's so small? See, I thought that he was actually 18 inches tall, but when you're a kid, you know, you don't understand society yet and stuff. But I got into them the first time I heard Yellow Submarine. And I wound up purchasing, I started taking drum lessons in 4th grade. And then within less than a year, I'd have to say, of beginning drum lessons on the snare drum, just the regular snare drum, I was not advanced in the lessons yet, but I knew how to read the sheet music. So my dad bought me my first drum set about 6 months later for Christmas, 6 months after I started playing. And then within 6 months of taking drum lessons, getting my own drum set, I was playing, believe it or not. I stopped being able to read sheet music and I started playing by ear. And within, I'd say, the first week of me having my first drum set, I was playing the entire Beatles catalog from beginning to end. I mean, I was starting with I Want to Hold Your Hand, She Loves You, and then I found myself playing the drum solo to the end on the Abbey Road album. And it was so amazing for me because 6 months earlier, I didn't know a thing about how to play the drums. And within 6 months, I was playing like a professional drummer. And I was maybe about, 7, 8 years old. Now, I call that talent right there, because if you start not knowing how to play an instrument and then you can progress just like that, that's amazing. That is totally amazing. And I always tell this joke to my kids. I say, how do you get me to stop playing the drums? And they were like, I don't know how. I said, put sheet music in front of me. And they love that joke. I mean, they're like, you don't need sheet music. You can play by ear. My arm is getting tired holding the camera in one hand, so I'm going to switch to the other. So my Uncle Greg gave me the gift of music. Now, without divulging any serious references to religion, because I don't know what my viewers and subscribers' views are with religion, but I just want to say that the gift of musical talent is a gift from God. Not everybody can just pick up drumsticks or pick up a guitar and start playing and learn so fast. So I always considered that a great gift from God. And so Greg brought me up on music, as I was saying. I don't know how I'm getting off track here. Uncle Greg, he played Beatles music all the time around me. When he would babysit me, or when he would just come over for Christmas and stuff, he'd pull his guitar out and just start playing. And he'd play Beatles songs, and he'd write his own music. And he had a band when he was a kid with my cousin Jerry, Jerry Hetrick, who sadly passed away in 1993 without getting the credit that he so graciously deserved. And you're good. You can go ahead. I'm facing over here. There's a gentleman over here trying to walk. He didn't know if I was filming outward or what. But where was I? Sorry, brain fart. Ugh. Anyway, so Greg grew up with music himself, and he and Jerry were in two bands together. They were cousins, and sadly Jerry passed away in 1993 of a cardiac arrest. And it just left Uncle Greg very, very sad and very bitter. And for a while, he actually put down his guitar. He could not bear to even try to strum a chord because his partner was no longer there. Same with I kind of look at it and relate it to Paul McCartney when the Beatles broke up, and Paul was so depressed he couldn't bear to pick up a guitar or anything. And however, when John was sadly murdered, he realized he needed to throw himself into work. And that's what he did. And he's going strong still to this day. Thank goodness for that. And so in 2011, I believe it was, 2011 or 2012, my mom, my dad, and I took a trip to Liverpool, England, London, England, and Hamburg, Germany. We went on the Beatles pilgrimage tour, and I'm going to pop a link down below to the Beatles pilgrimage tour, because anyone who is just a Beatles fan or loves their music or loves the British invasion in general, that is an awesome tour to take. You stay in Liverpool at the Hard Day's Night Hotel, which is just around the corner from Matthew Street, where the Cavern Club was and still is. Of course, the original Cavern Club is no longer there, but the replica, which is still known as the Cavern, is there. And so we went on the Beatles pilgrimage tour. And this gets me a little emotional to talk about this, and I'll tell you why very soon, if I haven't already mentioned it. But Uncle Greg and I got the opportunity to play and sing a song on the stage of the Cavern Club. I got pictures of it as well, which I'm going to put up on the screen for your reference. Bing! So we got to sing Imagine on stage. And the reason we got up on stage is because at the time I was part of a Beatles tribute band, well, two of them actually, one from Pittsburgh and one from Ohio. I started out with the band Abbey Road from Salem, Ohio, and then I progressed into a band called Beatlemania The Invasion. We played one show, and but it was still a great experience. So I was talking to a gentleman in the Cavern Club who I told about the tribute bands that I was in from the States. And little did I know that he was the performer, the headliner for the Cavern Club that night. So he gets up on stage, and I'm just going about minding my own business. Uncle Greg's over at the souvenir area, and there's a lady that's getting out all of these souvenirs for him. And all of a sudden, I hear this gentleman, and I want to give a shout out to him. His name was Paul David Jones, and he is a great musician. He also played George Harrison in the Cavern resident band called what would they call it? Liverpool, or the Cavern Beatles. I'm sorry. Yes, it was the Cavern Beatles. Look him up on Facebook and on YouTube, Paul David Jones, Beatles. And all of a sudden I hear him say, I understand we have a gentleman in the house tonight who's from a tribute band in the States. Is he still here? And I'm thinking, what, was he talking about me? And all of a sudden I'm like, yeah, that's me. He goes, would you like to come up on stage and sing a song? I was like, oh my God, is this really happening? Oh my gosh, that was my dream, to get up on the stage of the Cavern Club and play or sing a song. So I went up to the stage, and I almost hit my head on the low archway, the concrete archway that leads up to the stage. And I got up there, and he said, what song would you like to sing? And I said, do you know Imagine? He said, absolutely, it's right here on my sheet music. I was like, oh wow, what a coincidence. So then I said to him, look, I'd love to do this song, but I will not do it unless my Uncle Greg is allowed to come up with me. And he said, no problem. He gets on the mic and he says, would Zach's Uncle Greg please come up here? He wants to sing the song with him. And Greg later told me that he, of course, was at the souvenir area. This lady was getting out a bunch of stuff. He was holding literally a handful, an armful of souvenirs. When he heard that, he told me he literally threw the stuff in the employee's arms who was getting the stuff out of the case. He threw it into her arms and just said, I'll be right back. He bolts to the stage, and he literally I don't know if he actually did, but it looked like he almost hit his head, literally, just like me, on the archway. But I think he ducked at the very last second. But we sang Imagine together, and it was literally the greatest highlight of my life. I mean, every Beatles fan, their goal is probably, if they go to Liverpool, their goal is to be able to sing on the stage of the Cavern Club. Even people who don't go to England but are fans of the Beatles and musicians, they want to live the ultimate experience. They want to be able to sing on the stage of the Cavern Club. But that, for many people, is dreams far-fetched. And it was a great blessing to be able to do that. And Greg was so happy. He was in tears. I was in tears. We embraced in a huge, huge hug that just seemed to last an eternity. And I cherish those moments I had with him. And sadly, in 2018, he passed away suddenly. We believe it was I don't know what it was. I'm not going to try and speculate, but he passed away suddenly, doing what he loved doing, by the way. He was at the Martin Guitar Festival in Nazareth, Pennsylvania, and he had just gotten married 4 years earlier to my Aunt Leanne, who I love. Shout out to you, Aunt Leanne, if you watch this. He married happily again, and his life was so complete. But sadly, he passed away in 2018 suddenly, and it just devastated the entire family. It just was devastating, and I couldn't believe what had happened. I thought I was living my worst nightmare in the world, and it was, I don't know how to describe it to you guys, but I decided then that, I remember the last conversation he and I had. It was during Hurricane Irma. I was already living down here in Florida. It was during Hurricane Irma, and my family and I, we went up to the Outer Banks, to Cape Hatteras for vacation. And we were told to evacuate anyways because of Hurricane Irma. So we were up in Hatteras. I was sitting on the third floor of our beach house, staring out at the Atlantic Ocean, watching the waves roll in and just savoring the moment. And Greg called me, and he was very concerned for my whole family's well-being and safety because of the hurricane. And he said he just wanted to call real quick. Well, we spent 3 hours on the phone, guys. 3 hours. And he was supposed to come down to visit us that November. And this was probably, I forget what month Hurricane Irma hit. Maybe it was July or something, or June. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we had a very loving, awesome 3-hour-long conversation. And he was telling me that he had just purchased the guitar of his dreams. He purchased the limited edition George Harrison rooftop Fender Rosewood Telecaster. And he told me that he had wanted to own one of those guitars since he saw George use it on the Let It Be album and on the rooftop. And so he could not have been more upbeat. And the last words he would ever say to me was, "I love you, Zach. I'm glad you're okay. And I will see you in November when I come down." Well, unfortunately, November never happened. He passed away in August. And after that, I went into a state of deep depression. And finally, in 2023, when I interviewed Eddie Deason for the first time, I was on my way to Pittsburgh to jam with some guys. My buddy Gio Strell, and another gentleman by the name of Tim Williams, who is a great musician. He's in a lot of bands and stuff. And I don't know, I knew in my heart that I had to carry on for Greg. I didn't have a choice. I knew that. But then things fell through with that group, and so I went into acting. And I did acting I was an actor, for about a year or so, and appeared on a bunch of different podcasts. And then, the hiccup happened with my publicist, and so I went into depression again. And all of a sudden, one night, I was lying in bed and I couldn't sleep. I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do now? What's my life all about? Is anything ever going to work out for me? And I swear, I know a lot of people don't believe in after death communication, but I do, and I'm not trying to influence any of you, but I believe strongly in after death communication from beyond the grave. And I swear I heard Greg whisper in my ear, Zach, you've tried acting, you've tried it your way, it didn't work out. Let's try it my way again. Let's go back into the tribute industry. And, you know, it just seemed so real. His voice was just right there, as if he was talking to me personally in front of me. And so, coming to the present, the next day I woke up and all of a sudden I get a text message from a gentleman down in Orlando. And there, let me just lead into it this way. Back, you guys will remember this probably, those of you who are familiar with Walt Disney World have gone there many, many times. At Epcot Center, there was a band that held residency there in the UK section. They were a tribute band. They were called the British Invasion. And Sean Bryant is the producer and the founder of the British Invasion. I had sold him all my Beatles suits a few months earlier because I was really studying acting and stuff. I was getting really into it. I thought, okay, this is my niche. This is what I was meant to be. And of course that didn't work out. So I ended up getting a text message from Sean. And he said, have you reconsidered? Have you considered possibly joining the British Invasion? Because we are going back out on tour, and we need a good drummer. And I've heard a lot of great things about you. And so I said, it just came to me that the night before, Uncle Greg had spoken to me and said, okay, let's go back into the Beatles thing. Let's do this. And I saw this as a voice from beyond the grave. And immediately I just said, you know what, I'm in. And we've been in communication ever since. And this month, January 2025, in the next couple of weeks, I will be attending the audition. And I already know I'm going to pass the audition because, drumming is like riding a bike. You never forget it once you know how to do it. And even though it takes tons of practice, I know the music well enough to the point where I can play it with my eyes in the back of my head. But in the next couple of weeks, I will be going down to Orlando for the audition. And throughout 2025, I will be playing in the British Invasion tribute band. And funny story, when I first moved down here to Florida in 2013, I was still trying to do the Beatles tribute thing, even though Beatlemania The Invasion was back in Pennsylvania. I was here in Florida. It just couldn't work out. So my parents said, there was that band at Epcot called the British Invasion. Why don't you reach out to them to try an audition? And I said, that wouldn't be a bad idea. So I reached out to Epcot and I asked them if they could put me in touch with the band somehow. They said, I'm sorry, but the band is no longer in residency here. Their 15-year residency ended in a couple years earlier maybe, or 2013, I forget. But any road, I just kind of put it to the back of my mind, and I focused on helping to bring up the kids, and for the next 10 years, I was a stay-at-home parent. And I just completely shifted my focus from music to being a family man. And I'm really thankful that I did that. But I was not looking to try to contact them or anything. And then, out of the blue, without me knowing it and without me expecting it, not even giving a second thought to it, I get a text message from Sean asking me if I want to join the British invasion. And so, sometimes the best offers just fall from the sky. And I'm really hoping that this works out, because I don't want to let Uncle Greg down. I don't want to let my parents down. I don't want to let my family down, my kids especially, my fiance, Madam Incredible. But that's pretty much what my future in 2025 is going to be. I'm going to be focusing on trying to get back into the tribute industry. Also, what I did this morning really helped kick off another goal for me. I am trying my best in 2025 to A, quit smoking cigarettes, and B, to get back in shape, because I am currently at 196 pounds and I'm 5'10" and a half. I want to try to get down 7 to 8 to maybe 10 pounds lighter, because my belly does stick out a bit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. And but I want to get down in weight. I need to quit smoking, and that means I got to work out. And this morning I actually went over to the workout center at my neighborhood, and I was in the gym for quite a while actually. I ran the treadmill, did a program workout for a good maybe hour, and it was a full program. I did really good at it. I completed it. Then I went over to some of the weights, the pumping stuff, the pumping machines, and I did about maybe 2 of the pumping machines. I did the one where you push up, pull down, push up, pull down. I did the ones where you pull together and then you push upward again. And I don't know exactly what they're called, but I did those, and I got a pretty good workout out of it. And so I need to also, I need to also cut back on the sodas, because the sodas are giving new meaning to the phrase rock and roll. But I need to get back in shape. I'm going to be shifting my focus to that. And that's pretty much my plan for 2025. Also, I want to do a little bit more traveling, maybe go up to New York, do a vlog on the Statue of Liberty. Eventually, I'm probably going to want to get over to like Nashville and, Memphis, to Graceland, to Elvis's home. Another big hero of mine, Elvis Presley. And I also want to go to like Mount Rushmore eventually. I want to go to, the Civil Rights Museum in Memphis, where Martin Luther King was assassinated. I was going to go this weekend to the memorial for Jimmy Carter, but unfortunately, other obligations are forcing me to stay put. And even though, we've been to Plains, Georgia twice already, and so I think that's good enough for me. But eventually, if his gravesite is accessible to the public, we'll go and pay our respects then. I want to go back to Washington, D.C. To do a continuing vlog on some of the things we did not get to travel to before. And just basically, I want to focus on, I don't want to dwell in the past. I want to move forward. I want to push forward. I want to accomplish my goals in 2025. And I just want to be able to, what's the phrase? I just want to be able to, enjoy my life and finally go out there I'm 38. I'm going to be 39 this coming year. And I want to be able to go out there and really make a difference in the world. You know, whether it's from entertaining people in a Beatles tribute band to, you know, traveling for my YouTube channel to, you know, bring some entertainment and some incredible impressions to you folks. I want to be able to share myself with the world. And so that's pretty much the year in goals for 2025. I always seem to be down on my luck, but this year I vow not to let that happen. 2025 is not going to be a year of failure or sitting stagnant and wishing that I could have it differently. Not going to dwell on it. I'm going to focus on the future. I'm going to make my goals come true, and I'm not going to just sit back and let things fall through. So that's pretty much 2025. And I appreciate you all listening to my constant rambling about it. But everybody has their goals for New Year's. Everybody wants to do this, they want to do that. Now, your bucket lists and your goals cannot always be achieved. You're never going to achieve all of them in one year, but it gives you goals to reach in the future. I'm going to get out of Lake Sumter here because things are getting pretty busy and I don't want to be standing around all day. I need to make a quick pit stop somewhere. I'll bring you guys along with me. So, but again, thanks for listening to my constant rambling, you know. And, yeah, just thanks for listening to me, and I hope all of your guys' New Year's goals come true. I'm rooting for you guys. Woo, 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 woo. Also wanted to mention to you guys, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier in my long jib jab back there, but I need to start drinking more water. That's another goal for the new year, for 2025. I want to start laying off the sodas. I want to start drinking more water. I want to start eating more healthy, etc., etc. So why not just start now? Oh, that's good. Stopping off at Publix here real quick. Need to get some vitamins. You guys remember this place? I used to work here. Oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention, recapping 2024. I quit Publix. And everybody's like, come back, come back, come back. You know, I'd love to. I'd really love to, but I want to make sure that this Beatles thing works out first. But anyway, coming back to my old work. This place hasn't changed a bit. Not one bit. You know, I will say, for a new year, they're pretty darn busy in here. You'd think they would have died down by now. But again, this is Publix. Very, very popular place. Where would my vitamins be? Da, 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 da. You know what? Maybe they're out of them. I don't know. I mean, I know which ones I take. Just I don't think they're here right now. Yeah, I know you guys are probably like, we don't want to stare at a shelf full of vitamins. Well, I can understand that. Quite frankly, I wouldn't want to either. So apparently, they don't have them. Looks like I'm going to have to be a trader and go over to Walmart. Which, by the way, let's do this. Pan. Walmart would be me being a trader. But that's okay. I don't mind. I want to take a trip around here, see what's going on. There's a couple of people I want to say hi to if they're even here. That's the thing. I remember doing the floors here, and I want to see something here, guys. Another quick pan. Oh my gosh, these floors are hideous. No offense to you guys here at Publix, I'm just saying. When I used to be here doing the floors, I used to do them pretty darn good. I don't know what happened to them, but either way, they're not as good as they used to be. Okay, it doesn't appear as though the gentleman I wanted to see is here. So, looks like I'm kind of out of luck today. But either way, you win some, you lose some. Incidentally, if this is a boring video today, a boring vlog, well, my sincerest apologies, guys. Just documenting my life. And I wish this gimbal would start cooperating better. Okay, let's get out of here while we still have a chance. Okay, back outside. Kind of reminds me of the Abbey Road crosswalk. Zebra walk. Alright. Quick pan! Well, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Be sure and check me out on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not even going to mention the ZachArnold.com anymore because that website is passé. Moving on to future say. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys, and wish me luck for the band. I will keep you guys posted, but for right now, the vlog is over.